Let's see. There we go. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well for you. It's been a minute since the last time I made one of these streams, so I figured I'd share my accomplishment that I made this last week. The last stream, I believe I made mention of a marathon I was doing. December 5th, I did the California International Marathon. Uh, Total distance was 26 and a half miles. That was the very beginning. It was a lot of fun. I was running off of 4 hours of sleep that day because I just couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I went to bed early to make sure I had enough time to sleep to get enough rest for the race, for the marathon. But I ended up waking up about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night and just could not fall back asleep. So I was up. I was writing stuff down in a journal in my little notebook I have next to my bed just to get ideas out of my head so I could rest. I was just too excited for this. And 2 o'clock came, got up, got ready, got changed. I'll come back to the clothes in just a minute. But got ready, got everything together, and went out the door. Both my parents came with me, drove down a sack. They dropped me off. They had to run back and pick a few things up, and then my dad was off to his job. He has to head to the airport, so they took my car. But we, when I got there, it was something else. Most of the streets in Sacramento were shut down. I walked about 4 or 5 blocks to where the buses all lined up, and they had at least what did I count? I want to say at least 40 buses lined up on the street, which was amazing. And all the runners, all the contestants in this race started piling in. They just started showing up at bus stop A. We had a grand total of, I believe, just over 10,700 people participate in this year's California International Marathon and Relay. It was just phenomenal. There were 4 different locations for the buses to pick people up at. I went to A, which meant I had to be there early. 4:45 to 5 o'clock was the departing time for that area. And so I got there, got in, got a bus. I was one of the first few to make it to the actual starting line. And it was amazing because looking at the starting line, again, this is my first marathon I've ever ran. I did a half marathon a month ago, but that was virtual because a few things came up to which didn't allow me to actually participate in it. But I was still able to run 14 miles about a month ago, and being able to see the starting line, the actual starting line, all this fenced off locations, and the amazing part of this. So concerts, those that go to concerts will understand this. They had at minimum 3 blocks worth of porta potties just lined up at the starting line. The announcer came on about 6:30 or so, stating that the California International Marathon has the best ratio for restrooms and runners. It's about 30 people to one restroom or porta potty. And yeah, so long story short, the first few buses came in. You had people lining up at the first few porta potties. They didn't want to walk all the way down. I trotted, I trotted again 2 blocks. They had the whole row opened up, and I was just so shocked to see so many. And then Within 30 minutes, we had almost everybody there. We had over 8,000 people at 5:30, and then 6 o'clock, 6:30, we had the rest show up. So again, that's about 10,000 people. It was amazing. So I started off strong. I thought I could make it in 5 hours and 5 minutes. So that's the group I joined. 7 o'clock came around. We all took off. We were, um, what's the word? We were staggered as we were starting off. So those that were faster went first and then just worked their way back. I did the dumb thing and started my tracking as soon as everyone started moving. So as soon as my group started moving, I was already tracking. That's half mile to the starting line. Not the wisest choice ever. So we got to the starting line, we took off. So the pace that we had to keep up with for the 5 hours and 5 minute mark was 11 minutes and 37 seconds, right? I took off. I was just trotting, thinking, okay, this is all going to be downhill. No problem, no issues. I've trained for this. This will be easy. Went down, got through the 5K mark within about 27, 25 minutes. I'll have to check my time on that one. But got there, again, in under 30 minutes, which I was happy about. Got to the 10K at about 40 minutes or so. During this time, I was okay. There was no issues, nothing wrong. Once I hit the 10-mile mark, that's when things kind of turned south. 10 to 15, I was okay. I was still trotting. I was still keeping up with pace. I was running with the 5 hours and 5 minute mark group. I got to mile 16 and it just went downhill. My ankle was hurting. I must have twisted it somewhere down the line. It just hurt. So I was hobbling, trying to trot every so often. The group was gone at this point. 5.5 hours passed. I got to, I think it was mile 18, and the 6 hour group passed me already, and I was like, oh, this ain't good. Got to 20 miles, and at 20 miles, I couldn't run. I physically could not run any further. So I was just walking. As I was walking, each rest stop, each station where they had the water, they were dumping out all the water and cleaning up the areas. And I was like, okay, no worries. I filled up my water bottle or my camel pack. At the last one, I've got this. I'm good. That was the worst mistake of my life. I was offered water a couple times by the medics that were on standby. Didn't take it. I thought I could make it on the 1 liter 1 liter worth of water I had in my camel pack. Dumbest idea ever. I got up to 24 miles. I could feel the blisters on my feet. I could feel the pain in my hips and my knees. And I was like, okay, I've got to stop. It did not stop. I literally pushed myself all the way up to 26.5 miles at the finish line. Yes, the last 6 miles I had to walk, but it was actually kind of eye-opening to me because a lot of people behind me, they were tapping out. They were hopping in the buses that were driving by, picking up runners. And I was looking at them, and each time they made eye contact with me, their heads went straight down. And I was thinking about it, it's like, don't do that. You're fine. You competed in a marathon. That is something in itself. But for me, I couldn't stop. I was like, okay, I have the option of hailing one of the medics and saying, hey, I can't go any further. I can't do this. And something in the back of my mind was going, no, push on. Keep going. Keep going. I was mile 25. I was in so much pain that I felt like I was going to start crying because I was just pushing through. I was like, okay, this hurts, but I've got to make it. I have less than a mile to go. And everyone's like, oh, it's only 8/10 of a mile. You've got this. I'm like, no. Uh, getting to the finish, getting to the last 2/10 of a mile, there were a few bystanders left. A good majority of them were walking away from it because, well, we're at the 7 hour mark. And these guys, I don't know who started it, but someone pointed out and they saw me walking. And the first thing I hear them scream was, "We see you! We see you! Finish strong! You got this!" And I don't know where I got the energy, but I was able to finish and actually run through the last 2/10 of a mile, and finish the full marathon at 7 hours and 14 minutes. I know it's not the best time ever, but for my first marathon that I did the very bottom minimum training for, that's something else. When I say bottom minimum training, I ran a half marathon a month ago. I ran 2 miles 3 weeks ago. And then just kind of trotted everywhere else. I tried pushing myself to go a couple miles on the treadmill. I tried out on the street. And when I say I did the bare minimum training, that was the worst mistake of my life because my feet are paying for it right now. If you practice or train for a marathon, please remember you need to stay on your feet and be moving for a very extended amount of time. If it's the first marathon and you're not competing or trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, you'll be on your feet anywhere from, if you're a good runner, we'll say 3.5 hours, all the way up to my time of 7 hours plus. I wasn't the only one that pushed themselves all the way through. There was a kid that I passed. He was having a little difficulty walking as well. I was encouraging him. He had to sit down for a little bit, but he was able to cross the finish line shortly after I did. And it was actually kind of cool to see him because I just said, "Hey, you did a great job." And then he said, "Thank you for your encouragement," and just was a really nice kid. But going back, remember, if you're competing in a half marathon, full marathon, 5K, 10K, and you're doing that, that's something you should be proud of. You shouldn't be like, "Hey, I did this and I set this time. It's not the best, but embrace it. It's something amazing. You ran 26 miles. Maybe walked half of it. But you ran 26 miles. You participated in a marathon. And now I'd like to say next year I will be more ready. I'll be training harder. And my goal is to cut down my time by at least 2 hours. So instead of 7 hours, 5 hours. I can now understand why people try and run as fast as they can to finish a marathon. For those that finished with 2 hours and 58 minutes or sub 3 hours, that in itself is impressive, and that is going to be my goal for this next coming year. Going on to clothing, you have to be careful of what you wear. That was my mistake. I was thinking I had the right shorts. I thought I had the right shirt. No. The jacket, thankfully, was the right style of jacket I had, but everything else was just no. The camel pack was too small for me because I need water. I drink a lot of water every day. I wore the wrong type of socks. Socks are very important. If you do not want blisters on your feet, I would recommend getting a good pair of running socks, compression socks. Yeah, I have them. Did I wear them? No. Did I pack them? Yes. Did I ever stop to change them? 5 minutes after I finished the marathon, yes. Running through it, you would think, okay, well, whatever I usually wear is okay. It's not going to hurt me too bad. That's very debatable on my end. If you're like me and you barely did any training for it, if you did what you could, clothing does matter because you got to remember there's a lot of friction when your legs are moving back and forth, and a lot of stuff can hurt. I'll just leave it there. The reason I bring up or brought up compression socks was because your feet more this is more towards your toes, will be hitting your shoes and the ground. Expect your toes to turn black or blue or get bruised because that's kind of what mine have done. And thankfully it's Tuesday now and I can actually finally move my big toe without it hurting, and my ankle as well. Make sure you have the right type of shoes too. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. I know this is kind of like, hey, this is information. This is all the stuff I'm learning. I'm going to be researching more on what marathon runners wear, what types of shoes they have. Because right now I switch between Ultra and Brooks. The Ultra are fantastic. I love them because they're more of a flat sole. Instead of where a Brook, you have a raised heel. And for me, the flat sole is actually more comfortable than the raised heel. So I think next time I run, which will be soon, I'll be wearing my Ultra. But yeah, that's just a brief recap of the marathon. Again, this was something else. I enjoyed it. Excuse me. I was enjoying the attitudes, the expressions that everyone was having. At the beginning, we're like, yeah, we got this. And towards the end, we're all like, okay, we got to finish this. We have to finish this one way or another. There were a lot more hills than I thought. Thankfully, I trained in a hillier or mountainous environment, so I was kind of used to it. But just the constant up and down did hurt. So that's my marathon. I might make another video about this. I might actually make another video of just my experience on this last marathon and what I'll be learning, and just posting that on YouTube, like the stories that I'll be sharing as well. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic day. If you get out there and do something different, do something new, something that you enjoy, please let me know. If you're doing century rides, that is amazing. I love doing century rides. For one, they're far easier than marathons, even though you're going 4 times as far. If you're doing a marathon, let me know, because that will be awesome. If you're doing a 5K, 10K, half marathon, whatever it is, if you're doing a swimming competition, snowboarding, skiing, because it's that time of year, let me know. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow. All right. Goodbye now.